So you did it. You booked the room, you ordered the sandwiches, you put all the beer in the cooler. 4 people showed up, and 2 of them were vendors. And on the drive home, you blamed the topic. You blamed everybody but yourself. They don't want to listen to me. They don't care. They don't realize what's so important. And here's my take. And it's going to annoy some of you. Filling the room is your job. It has somebody's name on it, and it has hours in it, and it's a bigger job than the thing you're going to teach once everybody sits down. At the end of the day, the content is secondary. I'm going to say that again. And again. And again. But I'll mean more and give you more on that later. By the end of this episode, you'll have 5 titles you could actually put on an invite. I'm going to help you defeat the blank page. I'm going to teach you the math on how many people you have to reach to get 12 of them in a chair, and the 4 weeks of work that go in front of the event. Not the deck, the work. And halfway through, by the way, I want to talk a little bit on at what point this creates a scale, kind of like the guy I told you about in the last episode, where you might want to charge for it. Because I think he's leaving money on the floor, and yeah, we had a conversation about it. So with all that said, let's roll the intro. One frame before we start. Last episode, I gave you the ladder. 3 things you sell and the order that you can sell them in. Every one of them starts in a room with people sitting in it. And yet nobody tells you how the room gets full. So that's what I want to talk about today. 3 steps to get a room full. 1 fight that I want to pick along the way. 1 sentence you say from the front of the room. And then 2 rooms that you already have and aren't using. The first thing everyone gets wrong is the topic. And I get why, because we pick topics we find interesting. And I've seen this 100 times. We pick the things we like. Cybersecurity, because it's the thing that we are most proud of. Or you see the MSP that's super into cyber and they start leaning into compliance because they think that that is just something that they must do, so they will give me money because compliance. Or the pressures that they receive from maybe one of the vendors in the MSP space, and so they think that that's what they need to workshop. I remember I fell pretty hard into backup disaster recovery, BDRs, because we got shared this story about a competitor or some MSP got hit, and we started to feel something about that, so we tried to push that. And the problem with cybersecurity lunch and learns is you're essentially asking a business owner to give you an hour of their day to feel bad. And let's be real, no one clears their calendar to feel bad.
In an effort to alleviate the effects of the, anyone? The Great Depression, past the, anyone?
That's it. That is your cybersecurity webinar in a nutshell. And go pull up, by the way, any vendor event calendar in the industry right now. Every single one of them is a security event. We have been running the same room for 15 years, and as vendors, we fill that room because you guys care about it. But as MSPs, your customers don't. The reality check? Business owners care about 2 things: making money and saving money. That's it. Even some of you watching right now, that's really what you just care about. I'm just the one that's going to say it. So your title of your lunch and learn has to promise one of those 2 in words they'd actually use themselves. And it has to promise it before they ever find out that the answer is AI that you have to set up and configure to make them efficient. So some examples. I'm going to give you 5, and I want you to steal them, modify it, make it yours. The first, how to find a day a week in your back office. Simple, giving you time back. Second example, what $200 a month of AI actually buys a 20-person company. 3, the 4 jobs AI is genuinely good at, and the 3 that will just burn your money. That one's good, I like that one. 4th, how the shop across town is getting quotes out before you do. A little bit of FOMO goes a long way. And 5, what your team is already using AI for and where it actually saves them time. Sorry, my kid literally just slid beef jerky down in my door crack saying, "Here you go, Dad, here's a snack." That was adorable. Every one of those titles, whether you like them or not, is on the nose on how it promises money or time. Not one of them says the word risk or compliance or you must do this or die. So if you know your verticals, you can get a little greedy and lean really into the words that they use. So if you're an MSP that does law firms, we know the most valuable thing to a law firm is hours. So we can talk that the title is the hours a week your paralegals get back and the one habit they have to give up to keep them. In like the AEC vertical, it's all about getting the invoices out and getting pre-construction done quicker. So it's writing an RFI response in 4 minutes. If we go back to the dentist, it's the front desk and the phone that never stops ringing is the button that I want to push on. How do I show value there? So if you know your vertical and you look in your ticketing system or the things that they complain about are bottlenecks in their supply chain, you can leverage that. And you're going to write the title before you write a single slide. The title is what you're selling. The slides are just what you owe the people who showed up. We've got a title. Now we need to go fill the chairs. And let me give you the one number worth planning against because there's not much data that I can give you in this episode. Goldcast, they're a webinar software, published their own number on 26,000 B2B webinars last year. It was 500 businesses, and what they found was 40% of the people who registered actually showed up. 40%. Now that's virtual. You're doing in person with food and booze. It's usually better than that. But at the end of the day, until you've run enough of your own events to know your own number, you need to plan on 40%. Because planning on 40% is what makes you do the work. So run it backwards with me. And I'm going to say this slow. You want 12 people in the room. 12 is a great first room because you're going to have a couple of your employees and a couple of connectors I'm going to talk about soon. At 40%, 12 in the room means 30 registered. That part is division, and you can hold me to that. Now, this is where I see people get it wrong, and I've gotten the same thing wrong. 40% measures exactly one thing. It measures how many people who already signed up walk through the door. Whether you get 30 humans to sign up in the first place is a totally separate question with a totally separate answer. There's different rates. There's different problems. And one of the problems, nobody on earth will ever publish because it's too subjective. So let me give you a real one of mine. A few years back, I co-hosted a webinar. 336 people landed on the registration page. 26 of them signed up. Run that same rate at 30 registrations and you're reaching about 400 people. 400. That's a lot of people. More than a lot of us know. But hang on, because that number is my webpage doing my asking for me, and a webpage is kind of terrible at asking. Nobody owes a webpage anything. A human asking another human is a completely different instrument, and that gap is the whole reason the next 4 weeks are built out of phone calls, text messages, emails, direct, not through a system. So 400 is your worst case. And it comes off exactly one event of mine, so you gotta hold that data loosely. I can't give you yours, you're gonna have to try, right? Resilience is your MSP superpower. Now watch that episode. Yours depends on who you know and how you ask, and you won't find out until you've run 2 of them. And honestly, some people are infectious. They have fantastic behaviors. My buddy Sean Torres would probably get 12 out of 12. He would probably have a perfect close rate because he has a cult of personality. Now, here's the one that's gonna cost me a couple of friends. Right now, a lot of you may be thinking you're just gonna hand this to their marketing agency or some retainer. Someone's gonna charge you to put this on for you. And they're gonna do blogs and SEO and a newsletter that no one's going to open. And look, that person is probably good at their job. Inbound just isn't something you're ready for. And the simple answer is inbound is all about people finding you, which means somebody has to already know you're the person, or you have a budget and a volume that you compete for that search. And at the end of the day, no one really does. No one's typing in AI conference in Boston. The most small business customers you have don't put that into Google. That's what the big enterprises do. And if you think about what you're actually selling a stranger to do, it's, if you rely on these inbound methods, it's find you on a search page where you're one logo next to Anthropic or OpenAI, who have a bigger budget than you do. So that retainer is buying you a maybe, and they should probably be doing other things. But the room you booked for this event is buying you 12 names on a Thursday in 4 weeks. Honestly, I'd pause that retainer and spend it on sandwiches. So we need to now think about this list of 400. So you're gonna need to open up a spreadsheet, make the tool simple. And I want you to put every client contact who you think from your current customers would actually come. I want every deal you have lost in the last couple of years. I want everyone you've quoted and been ghosted from. And then go through your first degree connections on LinkedIn who are genuinely local. And a lot of you, this is what sucks, are gonna run out of names long before you hit 400 or 300. And that's fine. And that's where this gets interesting, because here's what I did when I was running these. I want you to go find people who sell to your people and don't sell what you sell. The PEO guy, the CPA, the commercial real estate guy, the business banker, the insurance broker, the employment attorney. And in the world of networking, we call these connectors. These are usually smaller businesses, family businesses, solopreneurs who will never buy a thing from you and can still hand you business because they work with the other large businesses in your area. And most of you already know 4 or 5 of them. You might work with some of them actually. And you've written these relationships off because they never turned into anything. You can get that 4, 5, maybe even 10. Shoot for 10 if you can in an afternoon, because they all know each other. Heck, if you have a couple connectors, ask them, who are your connectors? Can I meet them? These people, there is very little that should scare you about asking them for connectors of connectors to get people to have butts and seats for your event. And keep these numbers straight because they do 2 different jobs. 12 is the room. That's how many people we need in attendance that own a business. And 10 is the list of people who go fill it for you. Think of them as your BDRs, for example. They never turned into anything because you were standing there waiting. And what I mean by that is every time I hear an MSP say the chambers in their local area was a waste of money because it was just insurance people and bank people, I already know what happened. What you did is you stood in the corner of that room and you waited for somebody to walk up and go, so what do? I really hope you do IT and I can hand you a bag of money. Because that didn't happen, you wrote that event off. You said, these are a bunch of people that want to be friends with me. Ew, I don't want to be friends with people. So stop waiting and give those people a job. And by the way, if you can make this one an evening thing, that's even better. Because connectors, they're seeking social connections. They work for themselves. A connector will bring you 2 guests for a beer at 5 o'clock.
We're putting the band back together.
Exactly, you're getting the band back together. I mean, in a lot of cases, you're creating the band. That's exactly the call you're making, and every one of them owes you a favor because you are getting them into an event. You're just paying it forward. Call every one of them, invite them, and say the rules out loud, because these are the types of people you need to be direct with, because in a lot of ways you are helping each other, but you have more reputation on the line. And my 2 rules for any time a connector came to one of our events was rule 1. The second you're salesy or slimy in my room, you're gone. And this is a single time offense. The second rule, if you're going to eat my food and drink my beer and you're not paying me a sponsorship fee, then you're bringing 2 or 3 people with you, and they have to be a real, actual small business that has more than 10 employees. That's it. You're trading them because they may get business out of this event as well. It's all about networking. And I'll be honest, a few times that we did this, or the many times that we did this, about half of them showed up with 2 guests each. The other showed up with no one. And that was fine because it eventually perpetuated, which I'll talk about in a moment. And those ones that brought nobody were never asked to come again. Well, a couple of them did when they started to beg me and I told them that they had to pay a sponsorship fee, but story for another day. So how many phone calls then is this really? Because I know what you're picturing, and you're picturing 400 phone calls and going, Kyle, this is unrealistic. Cold calling doesn't work. Well, it's not cold calling. Hold your horses. But the real number, the one number I think through, is if you call your own list and you call 10 connectors, you probably don't need to do more than 15 calls a day for a week. About 75 calls. And that's the whole of your personal outbound for this event. And what this really does is when you make those calls in the same week that you book the room, because at the end of the day, your connectors need as ample time as they can to reach out to their network to try to come to your event. If you call them and say the event's next week, they don't have enough time. People already booked out next week. You need to put those 10 connectors to go work with their people with the time that is reasonable. That's where the rest of your reach will come from. And that right there is an entire reason that the whole connector ideology exists. Because you don't have 400 names. The 10 people you're about to call do, but it's just 2-3 each, because we only need 12 people. And it costs you maybe a plate of food to borrow their network. So one before we move, and feel free to fight me on this one, the people that you want in that room, the ones that are going to attend your event that are going to participate, are the ones who talk. These are the ones that like to participate. These are the ones that have real struggles in the business and just want to find some way to make improvements. And not all the time is that a decision maker, is the owner of the business. Sometimes that's the office manager who really runs the place, or the operations manager where they have everybody's ear. The signature can come later. It always does. Because they will walk back and tell the owner all of the great things that in an hour that they learned from you, and that you're doing another event, hint, hint, we're going to talk about that in a minute, and that they should come with you or they should meet you. And I want you to write this down. Make sure the room you book is a little too small, because 12 people in a room with 12 chairs is a packed house. 12 people in a room with 40 chairs is a funeral. I get that the big brewery, that it's really affordable to do on a Tuesday afternoon, is a great idea, but you also don't want to look like the guy that throws the party like I did in high school, where you have more beer than any possible 3 friends of mine could ever drink. Well, that we could possibly think that we could drink it. So, 4 weeks out, let's talk about the plan. How we're actually going to make this happen. This is the one that I would really print out and make as your project plan. 4 weeks out is all set up. No marketing at all. And there's only a few things that you are going to get done. You're going to pick the date and book the room. You're going to book it small. You're going to write down the title, thing that's going to make them want to show up. And you're going to build your list. That list is also going to have the connectors that you're going to call to tell them the date. And those need to happen immediately, right? Because we want to respect them to give time to call their network. And I want you to put one person's name on this event that is going to be responsible for getting 12 butts and 12 seats. And if you're a small MSP, 4, 5, 6 people, that name is yours. And you should stop pretending otherwise. 3 weeks out is when you ask. And you ask one human at a time. And what this looks like, by the way, day to day, is phone calls and real messages with their names on it. No blast, no marketing stuff. You don't want to get caught in any spam filters at this point. It gets too complicated. Every ask, by the way, needs to talk about bringing someone from their team. It's okay if one logo brings 2 people. It's actually better. That's a lower risk of flakiness. Flakiness be damned. You're going to get ghosted, trust me. This is just as bad as sales. But your registration page goes live about 3 weeks out, and it asks only one question other than the contact info. That question is, what's the one task your team does most that you wish took less time? That's one question that is your discovery. And you're getting the answers 3 weeks early and is exactly what you are going to talk about during your presentation. It writes the deck for you. Now, 2 weeks out, you go wide. And there's one thing I'd change about how you already do this. Send the email out of your own inbox because you're probably not at a size where your marketing emails are actually hitting the priority inboxes. We can get nerdy about this, but not today. We don't have a lot of time. When it comes from a real person's mailbox, it gets past a lot of spam filters. So you just need to send it out that way. And the rest of the week, this is where you can send out the mass emails and do the LinkedIn posts and the newsletters, things that make us nerds feel fulfilled. Because everybody, though, that didn't answer 3 weeks out, week prior, they're going to get a second touch on a different channel. So if I called them, now I'm going to text them. And if I emailed them, I'm now going to call them. And by the way, text messaging works. And half of you aren't going to do it. So the last week is the closing week. Every registrant gets a personal confirmation from an actual human. Reminders get sent out the day before, the morning of, and an hour before the event. And yes, that's 3 reminders in a day. Send all 3. And this is kind of the good part. I want you to call 3 of them before the event that you know that you're most comfortable with and ask what they're hoping to hear. You'll probably get a different answer than what was on the registration page, and it just gives you more depth into what you can cover when you actually get to building the top. Because now the deck writes itself, and that is the entire point. You need to build the deck last. You've got a room full of people who already told you what they wanted, so go make that. 2 days is plenty. And you've heard me say that we ran these at my MSP, and then we quit. And the part that I didn't tell you, if you think I'm being hypocritical, is the reason we quit is that nobody's name was on it. It turned into us being so busy, in part because of this, that we all saw it as a burden. When what I really should have done, especially at scale, was just hired an events manager. So we could have kept doing this and someone was purely accountable to running these events because it built my whole network. So there is a small fight and there is a point of contention when you get good at this. And this is what I started to experience at my MSP. And ultimately the fight I kind of started to pick with the guy that's really successful with this in Vancouver. And it was that I told him he should start charging for these events. And I want to be clear before I disagree with him because what he's doing is working and he's winning and we are not. But eventually free has a price. And it's just like restaurants where when someone books a table, they're turning people away at the front of the restaurant. And when someone doesn't show up to that reservation, no one's eating at that table. They have lost money. So we need to consider that there is a size and scale, and I'm not going to go deep into this, where you probably should start charging for this room. Because then what you're selling them is a community, not a luncheon. But we'll go deeper into that at some other point. Just think about charging something.
Business bad? Fuck you, pay me. Oh, you had a fire? Fuck you, pay me. Place got hit by lightning, huh? Fuck you, pay me.
Not like that. That's protection racket. This is just a luncheon. But like I said, when you get to a point that you're building a community, that you don't want to be like the restaurant where that empty seat is costing somebody else's ability to attend. And no one likes a flake, no one likes ghosts. So we need to make sure that we keep the attendance accountable at some level. And you might apply the cost of the event to a future invoice or membership or goes to charity. But right, just at some point, you do need to protect the seats that are there or protect from those people that maybe attend but never want to do business with you. But ultimately, he pushed back and his argument was valid. I don't want to take that away from him. And it ultimately has to do with the resilience of getting butts in the seats, to building confidence. And his line to me was basically, Kyle, I'd rather have the wrong 10 people in the room than the right 3. And you know what? He's right. And at the end of the day, getting caught up in the complications of charging for this room, which is ultimately what I would do, well, do it at scale. Don't do it in the beginning. Because he is right that it gives him the chance to build his network and build out his processes. Just start charging the day you're pulling 30 registrations, because 30 is the first time a no-show now costs that somebody a chair. And being real, most of you are going to run it free anyways because it's awkward. You're going to lack the confidence. You're going to want to feel like it's perfect before you get to a level that it's a product. And you'll pay for it in sandwiches that no one eats. We all know the beer won't go bad. So, top tip. Never announce an event without the next one already on the calendar. Never hold an event without the next one on the calendar. Because the single best room you will ever have for selling the second event is the room you're standing in. Those people already gave you an hour. They already like you. They're already sitting there. They did not leave early. And it's free to ask them. It's one sentence from the front of the room. Hey, everybody, before you leave, the next one is Tuesday at 4 on whatever, the 1st. And I'll make sure everyone gets an Outlook invite. Or write your name down on the way out. Or raise your hand and I'll have someone write it down.
Keep the faith, my friend. If you book them, they will come.
Yeah, if you book them, they will come, except that is a movie. In a real life, you book them, and then you call them, and then you text them, and then they come. And when you do this, by the way, 8 or 9 times, something's going to change. And this is what we started to notice. You're going to see the same faces showing up, and they start bringing people without being asked. And that is fine. And eventually, someone's going to email you asking when the next one is. And that is the day that you can recognize that you are no longer doing lead gen. You are running a community. And a year in, one of your 30 businesses are showing up consistently, that room will start to pay for itself. Because you're going to go after those connectors and you're going to split the cost with them. Or you're going to go after some vendors for some sponsorship dollars to have a table or a booth. And that's a long way out, but it's something to consider, is that these do become a natural way of growing your business. It becomes a natural top of funnel exercise, and you start to fill other people's funnels. Also, I want you to record these, every single one. The recording is the follow-up email. It's the LinkedIn clips. It's the thing you send to the people that didn't show up but registered. In one event, you've got a month of content out of it, and you've already paid for it, and a couple AI tools will do all the nerdy slicing and dicing. Anywho, here's the piece that I see people skip, and it's the one that turns the room into money. Everybody who sat in that room is walking out with something that eventually expires. You need to think through some way that something expires as they walk out the room. And now that could be subscription to a platform that you have, or membership into a community or a virtual community. That could be a 30 days with your help desk or a free service ticket. Something that allows them to now try or work with you more intimately. And if you don't have any of those, do the better version anyway, right? If you think about 3 hours of an engineer's time, it dies in 30 days, one free support ticket. If they attended one of your events, they're going to like you. They're going to try you. they're going to feel a little bit better. And I know that goes against the zeitgeist, and there's going to be people that tell me, Kyle, you're an idiot. My time is valuable. But it really doesn't cost you anything. A lot of them, it's going to expire. They're not going to use it. But it allows me now to follow up with them. And by the way, if it is going to expire and they haven't used it, on day 25 of 30, call them, ask them, talk to them. Hey, I saw you haven't redeemed your one free support ticket. Is there anything my team can help you with? Some of them will use it, some of them won't, but that phone call will always be there. Because now they know you and they trust you. They just need to start using you to see the amazing things that your business can do. And that call is where that full room turns into proposal. And what you propose can be the ladder that I walked you through the last episode, but this room is ultimately the bottom. This is the lead gen of that ladder. And for those that didn't show up, you can call them. Hey, you missed it. Here's the 6-minute version. If you want me to do this personally for your team during your lunch, I'll show up and do it in person for your 30 employees. You already have the content, you already have permission to call them. Does it hurt to have a meeting in front of, or a teaching session in front of all of their employees? Hell no. Which is funny because it's kind of the thing I want to talk about next. And at the end of the day, let's be real for a second. Everything up to here was about a room you booked and filled mostly with strangers. Once in a while, you want your regular customers invited, especially if you just can't get the seats booked. But let's talk about the people who already pay you every month. And this move is embarrassingly simple because you built a session. It exists now. The work only cost you once. So why wouldn't you take it to your best clients, their conference room, and run it for their team? Better yet, teach your VCIO or your account managers to run it for their team. And yes, this will cost you precious margin dollars off their all-you-can-eat agreement. I get it. But what you have to consider is that this is buying you a room full of their employees, where you can ask them what's broken in front of their boss. Because we all hear it in the QBRs, oh, we're doing great. Well, this is the data that now you can leverage to walk up the ladder with them. And you can't buy this. You don't get it from your ticket queue, and you won't get it from your surveys. And when you do this, right, because it's costing you margin dollars, when you're walking out the door and you see your point of contact, that's when you ask them, hey, that was an hour of it. If you want, I'll come back and do this properly with your whole team more consistently. And if they say, hey, tell me more, you're now onto the ladder. Now you're going, hey, can we agree to one session a month, one support group a month, one think tank per month, however you want to frame it, where you do this exact same exercise. Trust me, most business owners want nothing more than someone else to train their employees. And last but not least, this one's free. Every person in your company who talks to your clients is a channel, and you're probably not using them well enough. When your help desk closes a ticket, just get them to consistently have a little bit of a template to say, hey, we're doing a session Thursday at 3. You should come. That's it. Can I send you the invite? Can I send you more details? That's the whole tactic. And telemarketers have done this forever. And it's the same reason that your bank teller asks about a credit card every single time you're there. If you put it at the end of the script, and then you actually hold people accountable to saying it, I know that's hard, well, now you're going to see the opportunities arise. More butts and seats, more requests. Hey, we're doing a free lunch and learn for our clients. Anyone would be interested. You never know. Sometimes you'll get a champion of your point of contact who told you no to say, hey, our MSP just asked about a free lunch and learn on how to use AI. Well, can we do it? Oh, I told them no. I didn't think you guys would want it. Yes, I do want it. Cool, then let's do it. But at the end of the day, what I'm really trying to say is it's everybody's job or it's nobody's job to get attendance. And we already know what happens when it's nobody's job. So last, I want to talk about the almighty QBR, thing that we all say we do, yet none of us probably do consistently other than throw a ticket report at them that they don't read. And really what this turns into is, how do we ask better questions in it? Because if we've built this deck, we've built these sessions, and we want to start building a pipeline of that ladder beyond just the events, there's questions that we can ask. And 2 of those questions help you fill your room. And I want to give you some of those first. So think of sometimes when you are having these QBRs as they're great referral sources to get more net new logos in attendance to your events. So when you're doing the QBR, right, one question you could ask is, so hey, you guys are happy with us, and you said it. Can you introduce me to Sarah at that firm down the street that you had mentioned, as I would love to invite her to our AI happy hour on Thursday? Another great question. And what events do your people actually go to? Now, why these are worded the way, and not other ways you've heard it, is you'd never want to ask somebody who they know. Nobody knows. You ask them to go through the great Rolodex of their brain and think of everybody that they know. And that's a lot of people. So go look at their LinkedIn connection before the meeting. Pick 2 names that are local, that are business owners or high up titles, and ask for those 2 by name. Worst they can say is, yeah, I can do that person, the other person, they're just horrible, and I would never introduce my worst enemy to them. And that second question, by the way, is the cheapest thing in this whole episode. The rooms already exist, your clients are already sitting in them, and nobody in this trade ever thinks to ask. It gives you the answer, ultimately, of what things would they attend, or what events should you show up to and ask that event's host, hey, can I talk about XYZ at your next event? They would love for someone else to be at the front of the room helping their community. So how do you earn the right to ask for somebody's name? You earn it earlier in that same meeting, and this is where a lot of us blow it. Because look, what we usually ask is, like I said, we're slapping them upside the head with our great ticket report. We are asking them if they like us, or how have your computers been, any networking issues. They're all questions about us. And to get away from asking questions about us, I wanted to give you 4 questions that you guys can ask your VCIOs or your account managers, and a way that they can ask them to get away from the questions that are a little selfish. So 1, what are you trying to get done this year that has nothing to do with IT? 2, what's the biggest thing changing for you in the next 12 months? 3, where are your people spending time on stuff you'd be embarrassed to show a customer? And 4, what did you buy last year that nobody uses? That 4th one is my favorite. And you should watch their faces when you ask it. And they're going to answer with business stuff because you asked them business stuff. The answers you'll actually get are going to be those things that open the doors for other conversations. Like, we're buying a company, or we're moving buildings, or we're finally replacing our CRM. We're hiring a bunch. I don't know. They're going to give you the stuff that I can start to pull. And every single one of those becomes a project you already know how to run. You just need to ask the question to have the right to present that to them. And the second question, by the way, is always kind of the same shape of following up on any of those answers to how are you planning to set that up so it actually works for people? CRMs and ERPs are great examples. They require a ton of enablement, a ton of prep work, a ton of training. Right? Have you budgeted computers for all that hiring you're doing? Does the new thing have AI in it and we need to structure data so your employees can't see your salaries? Does it need to integrate or talk to any of your existing systems? Now I'm able to ask the nerdy questions because they opened the nerd door. And that's the bridge. That new CRM is a data cleanup project and a training project wearing a trench coat. And you only get to be the one who says that because you were sitting in the room when they said the words new CRM. And again, like I joked about at the beginning, We're all not running QBRs, and the angle might not be open to you yet. That's fine. Go book the room. However, if you are, or you're going to, not the going to like you're smoking a lot of hopium, but sometimes just, hey, can we meet and just talk? Don't make it too structured. Ask those questions as like the entryway. So let's pull this together. An empty room is a production problem. Somebody's name goes on it, probably yours, and it's 4 weeks of calls and texts and one more reminder than feels polite. The title is the lure, and it promises money or time. Never risk. You go borrow an audience from the people who already sell to your clients. What they pay you is guess. You charge everybody else possibly a deposit as you get good at it, and you book the next one from the stage before anybody stands up to leave. And then you run that same hour at your best client's office, and you ask 4 questions in your QBR that have nothing to do with IT. I told you at the top, I'd say this again, the content is secondary. Every one of you can teach that hour. Almost none of you will do the 4 weeks in front of it, and that is the entire reason your room is empty. Fill the room, and you've done the part almost nobody in this trade ever does. I don't know which of these works in your market. Neither does anybody else selling you a playbook. And some of you will fill a room on the first try. Some of you will run 3 or 4 of these to 8 people before it turns. The only thing I'm sure of is which part is the work, and the work is the invites. So here's what I want you to do on Monday. I want you to pick a date 4 weeks out. I want you to book a room that's slightly too small, write the title, then call 10 possible connectors who sell to your clients and don't compete with you. And don't open PowerPoint. You're not ready for it. Get 12 butts in that room, get 30 people to register, then you've earned the right to write that PowerPoint. Because everything I gave you today runs on a phone, a spreadsheet, a cheap registration page, and somebody willing to make some phone calls. Probably you. And that's on purpose. The part that happens after the room is the part I build, by the way, at Impact to help you. I'm a little bit biased, and I can give you plenty of ideas. But you know, there is something in it for me eventually. So what's going to happen next? Either next episode or in the next 2 episodes, I want to show you how to write that PowerPoint. I want to show you how to build that presentation, because a full room and a bad first session are worse than an empty room. So hit subscribe and it will come find you. Now for the fun part, I want you to do me a favor. Put your title in the comments, not your topic. Don't use something out of AI. I want you to try to write your own title, the actual words you'd put on the invite. And I will write in the replies how I feel about it. I'll tell you straight up whether I'd show up for it. Because as always, I want to make sure that you stay accountable.